For sinister internet rabbit holes revealed, terrifying discoveries that haunt the curious Sarah sat alone in her dim living room. The only sounds were the ticking of the clock and the soft rustle of her children asleep in their rooms. The glow of her computer screen illuminated her tired face, casting eerie shadows that danced in the corners of the room. She clicked on an old forum titled Local Legends Unveiled. A rush of adrenaline sparked within her. What if the stories could break through the heavy silence that filled her life? What she found chilled her to the core. The forum was littered with accounts that spoke of neighbors who vanished during the Harvest Festival, the annual celebration that everyone in Maplewood hyped about. Promises of fun and community masked a chilling truth: the festival was a cover for something sinister. Sarah's heartbeat quickened as she read tales of families who came to enjoy the festivities but never returned home. Whispers had thrown accusations at Maplewood, yet no one acknowledged the truth behind the smiley faces on the decorations. The more she read, the more the mundane world outside her window transformed into something dark and threatening. With each chilling story, her anxiety bloomed into terror. It felt like she was entering a descent into madness, as if the innocent suburban life she'd known was hiding shadows of itself. Her mind flickered with images of her children, oversized grins on Halloween, unaware of the lurking danger. A new notification popped up, a direct message from a user named Watchful Eye. It said, "Stop asking questions. It's not safe." Dismissing it as a prank, she pressed on. Days blurred into each other. The ominous direct messages continued, yet her curiosity about the forum overshadowed her fear. But soon, Mr. Hall, her children's seemingly charming school principal, began showing a peculiar interest in her findings. His friendly smile felt like a mask. Each interaction crept under her skin, the warmth of his tone replaced by an unsettling edge. "Have you thought about those local legends, Sarah? We wouldn't want to let our imaginations run wild," he said, with a glint in his eyes that left her unsettled. It happened on a night like any other. A sudden, loud crash jolted her from a restless sleep. Heart pounding, she rushed to the window, peering out into the yard cloaked in darkness. Outlines of figures darted between the trees, familiar silhouettes that sent shivers racing down her spine. Who were they? What were they doing? The panic invaded her thoughts. Then, she reached for her husband's phone, but it was unresponsive. Silence followed as days grew into a suffocating grip around her. The children became moody and quiet, only adding to her mounting dread. The mere idea of the Harvest Festival? A trap. The authorities brushed her fears off, leaving her to feel isolated in her spiraling nightmare. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Halloween approached, the festival loomed like a specter over her. Sarah desperately connected the dots, but each revelation slipped through her fingers as if coated in oil. Strange notes wrapped around her doorknob appeared with increasing frequency: warnings, taunts. Her children's silence became a suffocating weight. Mr. Hall's last visit made her skin crawl, his intentions layered with menacing undertones. The lights in her house flickered, a sure sign of something malign lurking nearby. With that sound of rustling in the shadows, a cold laugh split the darkness. Panic clawed at her throat, terror radiated through her limbs. She hadn't just been exploring a mystery. She was now part of it. The door creaked open behind her, and soft footsteps echoed closer. What would she do next? The door swung open slowly, revealing nothing but the deep shadow of the hallway. Sarah's heart raced as she listened intently, straining to catch any sign of movement. A chill gripped her spine, the darkness felt alive, pulsating with hidden threats. Her breath quickened, and the silence pressed around her like a vice. "Mom?" A small voice interrupted her panic. Her daughter Emily peered around the corner, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Relief washed over Sarah, momentarily pushing back the terror. But what came next was a sound that sent icy fingers down her back, a low, guttural chuckle from somewhere deep in the house. A sinister laugh, dark and mocking, echoed off the walls. "Stay right there," Sarah hissed. Emily froze, confusion mixing with fear. Adrenaline surged, and without thinking, Sarah darted toward the noise, her feet moving faster than her mind. As she emerged into the darkened hall, every instinct screamed at her to turn back, but dread propelled her forward. The laughter faded, but the air felt thick with an unseen presence. She reached the living room, the glow from her computer still illuminating the space, illuminating the terrors she couldn't shake. The window rattled, as if urging her to look outside, to see the sinister shapes that had haunted her vision. What were they doing out there? She approached the window, and the shadows across her yard turned to figures, motionless under the pale light. Tall and wiry, they stood perfectly still, their heads tilted in unison, as if they were watching someone. She pressed a shaky hand to her mouth to stifle a scream. For a moment, she thought they'd come for her, their eyes those endless voids sinking deep into her soul. Suddenly, Mr. Hall's face appeared in her mind, his chilling interest in her situation flashing like a neon sign. Was he involved? Did he know they were coming? "Mom, what's wrong?" Emily's voice broke through the suffocating panic, and Sarah spun around, fear wrapped tightly around her heart. She couldn't show her daughter the terror consuming her. "Go back to bed, honey." "It's nothing," she lied, attempting a smile. But as Emily turned, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. She glanced back at the window, and the figures were gone. Shivers clawed at her skin. Had they ever been there? Or was it a hallucination brought on by the anxiety chaining her thoughts? The chatter on the forum echoed in her mind, talk of disappearances, talk of everything changing for the festival. Breaths became shallow, she was running out of time. If the festival was indeed a ruse, she had just days, no, hours until the darkest of deeds could be executed in plain sight, masked by innocent laughter and festive spirits. Sarah rushed to the kitchen, scrambling to grab a knife, clenching it tightly in her palm. As she returned to the hall, the front door creaked open wider, and with it came a gust of wind that extinguished all the lights in the house. Darkness consumed her, and in that suffocating void, she heard whispering that twisted her gut. Come out," the voice slithered through the air. It was a taunt, beckoning her to reveal herself. Panic settled deep within her bones. No, suddenly, the footsteps resumed, padding softly but resolutely toward her. They were close. Too close. Gripping the knife, she prepared to face whatever lurked in the shadows. The door slammed shut, plunging her into darkness just as she felt a cold breath on her neck, sending her heart thundering in her chest. What would she discover? What sinister fate awaited her? She felt it closing in around her, and the weight of dread filled her veins like ice. A flicker of light caught her attention. Outside? The festival was beginning. Would she make it out in time, or would she become one of Maplewood's twisted legends? The darkness clung to Sarah like a heavy fog, suffocating and all-consuming. She squinted, trying to pierce through the blackness that enveloped her, her heart a relentless drum in her chest. Just outside the door, the eerie whispering intensified, almost as if it was drawing nearer. "Mom?" Emily's voice again cut through the shadows, fragile and vulnerable. "Emily, stay back!" Sarah shouted, the knife trembling in her grasp. She backed away from the door, her eyes darting around, searching the void for any sign of movement. The chill in the air thickened, swirling around her like icy tendrils. Behind her, Emily's footsteps were muffled by the dark. "Mom, I'm scared," Emily whimpered, and Sarah's heart cracked wide open. She felt the weight of her daughter's fear, as solid and pressing as a mountain on her chest. But then, as if responding to their dread, the whispering crescendoed into a cacophony, drowning out everything else. Voices, distinct yet incomprehensible, tumbled over one another, urging her, begging her, possessing a malice that sent a shudder through her core. Sarah tightened her grip on the knife, nails digging into the handle, grounding her in the present even as terror overshadowed reason. She could not let whatever existed in that darkness get to Emily. Not now. There was still time to protect her, to break free from the suffocating fear. Summoning what little courage she had left, she stepped further into the living room, the faint glow from the computer screen illuminating a small circle around her. The light felt laughable against the oppressive dark surrounding. "Mom!" Emily called again, and the urgency in her voice struck a nerve. "Get in the closet. Now," Sarah commanded, her voice sharper than a knife's edge. She needed her daughter to be safe, hidden. Each passing moment felt like eternity, stretching and pulling, weighing her down. As Emily obeyed, Sarah returned her focus to the shadows, the suffocating voices whispering, wrapping around her like a serpent preparing to strike. That laugh, the one that had echoed earlier, began again, throaty and spine-chilling, filling the air with malevolence. Come out," it intoned conspiratorially. "Show yourself," Sarah shouted, a true battle cry wrestling free from her terror. "I'm not afraid of you." But the laughter only crescendoed, enveloping her in chaos. She steadied herself, breathing through the panic, straining to hear any clue from the cacophony. A scuffling noise came from the hallway, filling her with dread again. It was closer this time. The knife felt heavy in her hand. She could hear her heart thumping, a frantic cadence to match the footsteps. Were they just in her head? Or were they really coming for her? The moment of truth was looming. In the eye of this storm, she caught another flicker of light, this one brighter, slicing through the darker shadows in a slow, rhythmic pulse that seemed to beckon her. The festival outside? No, this light danced wildly, weaving through the hall like a sinister firefly. It was a beacon of something else, something inviting yet deeply threatening. Gripped by instinct, Sarah edged toward the light, knife raised, eyes wide. Each step felt like a pact made with whatever lay waiting for her. Then she noticed something, an outline shifting at the edge of the light, a figure emerging from the abyss. The room's temperature dropped even more, and with the bitter cold, a voice rasped through the fragments of laughter. "You shouldn't have come here." A jolt ran through Sarah's veins. The figures outside, the whispers, the laughter, it all circled back around in her mind. What had she uncovered? What horror had she been brought into? "Mom?" Emily's voice whispered softly from the closet. "Stay quiet, baby," she forced out, keeping her eyes trained on the darkness. What would she do? Would she fight? Would she flee? Yet the truth loomed larger than all her fears. Was this just the beginning? And as a shadow lurked forward, pulling closer to the flickering light, all Sarah could wonder was, who was truly leading her into the abyss? The shadow stretched tall, its form shifting as it twisted and morphed, a grotesque silhouette against the flickering light. Sarah's breath quickened. This was no mere trick of her mind. The figure, half-formed and pulsating, seemed to pull the darkness closer, squeezing the air around her. "Mom!" Emily's voice trembled again, more urgent now. Was she hearing the dread in her mother's heart? "Stay silent," Sarah hissed through gritted teeth, muscles taut as she maintained her unwavering gaze on the threat. The knife felt slippery in her sweat-soaked palms. She needed to hold on. Closer, the figure crept, its movements almost liquid, slithering like a snake drawn to its prey. An echoing laugh ricocheted through the living room, an absurdity in the tense silence, mingling with the whispers that engulfed her soul. Sarah came the unholy hiss, the sound wrapping around her name. "You're the one who invited us in." Invited? No, she hadn't wanted any of this. Hadn't she fought back against the curiosity that had drawn her to the unsettling corners of the internet? The errant clicks on strange forums, midnight chats with unhinged strangers. Hadn't that been enough to satisfy the hunger for the macabre? What had she done? The weight of realization crashed down on her, threatening to pull her into despair. "I wasn't seeking you," she stammered, barely a whisper. The shadow reached out, fingers extending like talons toward the small circle of light, the air crackling with dark energy. "We come to those who seek, and you came searching too. Did you think they spoke for fun? Stop!" Sarah shouted, desperate hope stirring within her. "This is my life. You want to take it." The figure paused, an amused sound bubbling from deep within its throat, a sound that clawed beneath Sarah's skin. "Life? How quaint. You're already lost, Sarah. You just don't know it yet." The lights flickered violently, casting long, erratic shadows on the walls, painting them with fear. Sarah's grip on the knife tightened, knuckles white against the metal. The scuffling sounds from the hallway thickened, a chorus of footsteps, many voices merging into the chilling laughter that swallowed her whole. And then Emily's beam of light from the closet faded. Emily! Panic shot through Sarah, real and raw. She spun, heart racing, moving toward the darkened doorway that led to the hall. The laughter twisted and shrieked, jarring her senses, pulling at her mind like a bad dream. "Mom!" The call was breathless, laced with fear. "Hold on." Just as she reached for the doorknob, a chill coursed through her, a deep, guttural cold that froze her to the core. The darkness stirred, coiling around her legs, pulling her closer to the threshold of the unknown. The walls began to breathe, expanding and collapsing as if alive. Shadows scoffed and jeered, growing thick and tangible, reaching for her like the hands of the forgotten, desperate to pull her into their realm. "Let her go!" Sarah screamed, her voice echoing against the chaos, but her will felt like paper against fire, fraying at the edges. She stumbled, struggling to break free, but the darkness tightened its grip, a web spun from fear and despair. Just then, a flicker of memory bubbled to the surface, a chat room, a stranger's words. "Once you seek the dark, it finds you." Could it be real? She had read about the effects of such curiosity, the diabolical consequences lurking in the shadows of the internet. Could it really have come for her, for Emily? The laughter morphed into a single, sinister whisper that crawled up her spine. "You should have never looked now, you'll never know." "No!" In a last-ditch effort, she lunged towards the flickering light, weapon raised high, prepared to strike. But the grip of darkness was crushing. There was nothing left but the abyss, and she was teetering at the edge. And just as the darkness threatened to drown her completely, a piercing scream echoed against the walls, shattering the laughter and the whispers alike. What was that? Sarah gasped as she turned, heart in her throat, but the silence that followed was a deafening roar. What loomed beneath that silence? What had she unleashed? The seed of uncertainty blossomed as she blinked against the darkness, preparing to dive deeper than ever into a rabbit hole from which there might be no return. The air thickened, heavy and oppressive, as Sarah wrestled against a tide of dread. The darkness whispered, pulsing around her, alive and sentient, feeding off her fear. It was intoxicating, the way it pressed close like a cold miasma, taunting her, dragging her down the corridors of her own mind, where whispers turned into screams. "Stay back," she shouted, her voice cracking as she tore her gaze from the shadow looming at her doorstep. She had to find Emily. It was the only thought that kept her anchored as she stumbled toward the echoing scream that hung in the air like a forgotten nightmare. Emily! Her heart beat like a war drum, every thud pulling her deeper into desperation. Just beyond the threshold, darkness danced in cruel shadows, but inside, silence held its breath. The faint glimmer of hope faded with the flickering light from the living room. She turned her back on the malevolence that beckoned her to stay. As she stepped into the hallway, the chill wrapped around her, almost suffocating. Echoes of Emily's laughter, the sweet, lilting sound that used to light up their home, now twisted into something menacing, morphing into the shadows consuming the space. "Emily," she called, "please answer me." Panic gnawed at her, and she forced herself to breathe, counting down from 3. But the silence wrapped tighter, a noose of uncertainty. She felt the knife slip in her clammy grip as another scream shattered the stillness, this one more primal, echoing from the depths of the house. With resolve, she stepped deeper into the darkened corridor. The walls felt alive, breathing in sync with her racing heart, drawing her toward the source of the sound. Whispers lined the edges of her consciousness, taunting her, "You invited us in, you're the call for the lost." Did she dare entertain the thought that the creature had been right? That her need to reach for the unknown had bound them to her? Then, abruptly, Emily's voice pierced through the air once again. "Emily, help me." It echoed like a siren's wail, and Sarah stumbled forward, adrenaline surging through her veins. The hallway twisted as if it were playing tricks on her. Each step felt like a fog of dreams, the world around her blurring, and the shadows elongating, creeping unnaturally across the floor. "Emily!" she shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of despair. But her daughter's cries were swallowed by a cacophony of laughter that exploded from the dark depths of the house, a storm of wicked joy. "You'll never find her. You've given us your heart, your soul." The shadows writhed themselves into shapes of forgotten faces, mouthless grinning forms grasping at her ankles, reminding her of all those nameless souls lost to their curiosity. A bitter truth coiled in her gut. "You need to make a choice, Sarah. A trade." The shadows chimed, their voices a dissonant choir. Choking back her fear, she scanned for a way out. "What do you want?" she screamed into the void, ignoring how her voice trembled. "Just let her go. Let her go." The laughter erupted again, wild and chaotic. "Only the truth can save her now. But it will cost you dearly." She hesitated, soul screaming for Emily's safety while her mind battled against the chilling reality that this darkness thrived on dread. What price would she have to pay? "Your curiosity has already tainted you." The shadows hissed, closing in, their talons scraping against her skin, threatening to pull her into the depths with them. The knife now felt like a useless weight. Her breath was ragged as she leaned against the wall, eyes frantically searching the pitch-black void. "Tell me what you want," she pleaded, desperation bubbling to the surface. Suddenly, Emily appeared from a crack in the shadows, wide-eyed and quaking. "Mom, help!" But before Sarah could react, something drew Emily back, the darkness swirling as a monstrous mouth opened wide, threatening to swallow her whole. "No!" Sarah screamed as she lunged forward, determination igniting her senses. But in that moment, piercing shards of pain shot through her, as a gripping shadow locked around her arm. The clamor resumed, frenzy rising to a fever pitch, drowning her in chaos. Could she barter with something unseen? Her mind raced. Just as she thought of retreat, another scream sliced through the air, reverberating like silent thunder. What was the price of salvation, and would she pay it before the darkness consumed her whole? Just then, a figure darted into view, cloaked in shadow. "Choose, Sarah. Time is running out." And the shadows sighed with glee, spinning into a vortex, promising chaos. What choice would she make? Would she risk everything to save Emily, or would the darkness claim them both, sealing their fate forever? The shadows pulsed with life, twisting around her, drawing her in deeper. Sarah could feel the grip around her arm tightening, pulling her toward that gaping maw of darkness where Emily had disappeared. Her heart jumped as she fought against it, her breath a frantic rhythm in the air thick with dread. A desperate glance toward the cloaked figure revealed nothing but a flicker of face hidden behind darkness that offered no comfort. "Choose," came the voice once more, echoing like a drumbeat in her mind. The idea of saving Emily consumed her. But what did it mean to trade? What was the secret the shadows sought? "Your honesty for her life," a voice screeched from somewhere lost within the blackness. Honesty. The word felt foreign on her tongue. She thought back, her mind racing to the sheltered memories, buried secrets of her past. Could she truly lay bare her soul in exchange for her daughter's freedom? Would it even matter? Felt like another trap set to ensnare her. Sarah. Emily's distant voice quaked again, each syllable laced with terror. It sent icy fingers crawling along her spine. Please. Closing her eyes, images of their life, a picnic in the park, bedtime stories filled with laughter, and secrets shared like promises filled her thoughts. The yearning to protect her child welled inside her like a pressure that would burst forth. The darkness fed off her anguish, growing bold, wrapping itself tighter around her, murmuring sweet nothings that made her skin crawl. Your truth can shatter our hold. The figure urged, its voice dripping with insidious delight. Open your heart. It felt like time was slithering away. A petrified choice loomed in front of her. I loved my father, she started shakily, breaking the spell of silence. But we never understood each other. He hid secrets, just like I do. As the confession spilled forth, a pained smile twisted her lips. She had locked that truth away for too long, sadness, longing, and sorrow mixing. But every word unveiled another layer of her spirit, each shared memory echoing in the void. It stung, even as warmth seeped through the scars of old wounds. You offer an interesting bargain. The shadows hissed, the exhilaration of their laughter climbing with each word. Mom! Help! Emily's scream pierced through again, sharper, raw, and desperate. Your husband, she continued, almost against her own will, memories tumbling out like a broken dam. I was never happy with him. I felt trapped, and I wanted more. I wanted to be free. Behind her eyes, insanity tugged an urgency to confess even more. But the shadows, celebrating her revelations, pressed in harder, whispering of darker things, a malevolence hanging thick in the air. More. They hissed in unison, hungry for more pieces of her fragile spirit. Sarah hesitated. She was torn, debating how much of her soul could she give. Would it even be enough? Could truths expel darkness, or invite it inside? The darkness pulsed again as a howl erupted. Emily's voice returned, but it sounded far off, like she was losing her grip on reality. Mom, please, I'm scared. The shadows began to swirl faster, flickering around her like frenzied insects. They beckoned, pulling at every secret she harbored, every regret buried deep within. Choose. The figure demanded again, now more insistent. Choose before she drifts away into the abyss. Sarah glanced around, and in that moment, she felt the weight of her daughter's life pressing down on her. The darkness was closing in. If she didn't decide soon, they would both be lost. But then, she found a flicker of defiance rising within her. You think my honesty will save her? She challenged, voice echoing with newfound strength. You twisted things that don't belong to you. That realization sparked something in her. Let her go. If you want my truth, then you can choke on it. Those words hung in the air as the shadows recoiled, twisting and coiling with irritation. Too late, she felt undeniable resolve bubbling inside her. Let us see what you're made of. The shadows roared, the storm mounting, feeding hungrily on her boldness. And the darkness swirled violently, drawing back to reveal another doorway, a path deeper still into the unknown, a promise filled with danger and hope. What lay waiting on the other side? Would Sarah step through, risking it all, or would the shadows drag Emily further into the horrifying depths of despair? She took a deep breath, ready to leap into the uncertainty. Choose, Sarah. That voice reminded her, echoing through the chaos. But no, with every choice, a price will be paid, and the shadows converged, howling in rage and delight. What horrors awaited them both? As the swirling shadows tightened their grasp, Sarah gathered the remnants of her courage, stepping forward into the darkness. The entrance loomed before her like a gaping wound, a vortex that beckoned with promises and threats alike. Heart racing, she plunged into the unknown. Inside, the air turned icy, and the space expanded into a vast cavern, shrouded in an oppressive gloom. Flickering lights danced like errant fireflies, casting distorted shadows that mocked her efforts to find something familiar. Emily's cries echoed, but they sounded muffled as if filtering through layers of despair. "Mom!" It was a voice layered with panic, a cry for help that seemed to twist and stretch like an old, fraying string. "Emily!" Panic surged through Sarah, igniting a primal instinct deep within her. Every beat of her heart felt like a countdown, and with each second slipping away, her resolve grew stronger. She would find her daughter, no matter the cost. As she waded deeper into the cavern, silhouettes flickered at the edges of her vision, twisting and writhing like condemned souls. "Join us," they hissed, their voices a chorus of anguish that drifted through the thick air. "We can show you truth, the truths you've hidden." The shadows slithered around her feet, tugging at her with icy fingers. "Your truths," they coiled, "will bind you to us eternally." "No!" Sarah shouted, voice echoing against the cavern walls. "I want to let you take me." Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled. Dark images began to coalesce before her, vivid and sharp. Memories unspooled like a film, the moment she had found her father's old diary, the one filled with secrets he had never shared, the whispered arguments with her husband, the silence that had filled their home like a suffocating fog. Each image cut deeper than the last. "Confront the past." The figures shrieked, their chorus rising like a powerful tide. "Confront who you truly are." Her heart raced as fragments of remembered pain surged over her. If she faced them all, would it destroy her? The thought of it sent a shudder through her. But the shadows thrived on her fear, growing fangs and claws, ready to pounce. "Mom!" Emily's voice burst through the darkness again, sharper, clearer. "Where are you?" With renewed determination, Sarah screamed against the shadows, "I will have my truth. You don't own me." The cavern shook with her defiance, resonating like thunder. The shadows recoiled, hesitant now. "Very well," they hissed, "but the price you pay will be severe." Suddenly, the darkness pulled back to reveal a narrow path illuminated by an eerie glow. Steeling her resolve, Sarah darted forward along the twisted route, her breath punctuating the tense silence. Every step felt weighted as if the ground sought to root her in place. The chill of the shadows seeped into her bones, but thoughts of Emily propelled her onward. Abruptly, an enormous figure loomed ahead, blocking her path. It gestured toward her with long, spindly fingers, beckoning her closer. "Only through me can you reach her," it intoned, voice echoing like thunder through the cavern. "What do you want?" she demanded, heart pounding against her ribs. "Everything you've ever hidden, everything you've ever concealed away," the figure responded, a cruel smile stretching across its face. "In return for your daughter's safety. Do you dare?" Fear clawed at her throat as the memories closed in, each one a heavy, dark weight against her chest. What was she really willing to sacrifice to save Emily? The decision hung heavy in the air, charged with potential devastation. "Will you step forward?" The shadows whispered, tantalizing and menacing. As she hesitated, the flicker of Emily's face emerged in her mind, full of hope and terror. Sarah's breath hitched. She had to move. But could she expose everything to save her? The figure leaned closer, its voice a chilling whisper. "Time is fleeting, Sarah. Choose now, or darkness will claim her forever." A thrum of despair and urgency merged into one agonizing moment. Would she crack open her heart for the shadows, or could there be another way forward? The shadows twisted, and as she stood at that precipice of choice, a thunderous roar erupted from the cavern walls, shaking her resolve. Will you stand and watch as they pull her deeper into the void? The question hung like a noose, tightening around her throat. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the world crash down against her heart. What would she say? What would she sacrifice next to sever the ties of despair? And as the shadows swirled one final time, she felt the promise of a desperate choice looming. The cavern shuddered, vibrating with the weight of expectations, dark hopes, and sins too long buried. Sarah felt the shadows pulse around her, thick and ravenous, like wolves circling their prey. The air thickened with their whispers, a cacophony of lost dreams and twisted truths. Anguish mirrored in their voices snaked around her heart, snatching away her breaths and blurring her thoughts. She had come to this dreadful place determined to rescue Emily, but at what cost? What truths lay dormant, festering in the dark corners of her mind? As time slipped like sand through her fingers, the figure loomed closer, its eyes two voids, empty yet piercing through her very soul. "Think, Sarah," it crooned, "what secrets are you willing to unearth? What darkness shall you bear for your daughter's light?" Images spiraled in her mind, visions of Emily's birthday party, vibrant decorations, and gleeful laughter, now twisted into grotesque shapes. Would that joy be worth exposing her most painful memories? The thought threatened to pull her under, leaving her drowning in despair. "Face your failures, your betrayals," the figure urged, urging her toward the abyss. "Only by embracing your darkest past can you save her from this fate." The shadows faded momentarily, revealing the specter of her husband, gaze hollow, pulse frozen in time. Memories of rage, bitterness, and regret surged forward with every detail burning bright. Each fight, each unresolved argument, each moment of silence that hollowed their lives together flickered like a slideshow, screaming for recognition. "What are you doing?" echoed through the cavern, a voice both hers and his, sharp and slicing. Yet deep within Sarah, a reckoning stirred. It wasn't just about her. Could she really confront all those memories to save her daughter? "No," she screamed, feeling the surge of tenacity rise. The cavern rumbled, but the shadows clung tighter, reaching for her like desperate hands seeking solace. "Are you willing to bring your past into the light? Will you bear witness to your cruelest truths?" The figure smirked, seemingly gleeful at the chaos within her. Every heartbeat thundered in her ears. She opened her mouth to speak, but instead, a scream enveloped her, echoing wildly in the cavern. The darkness momentarily parted, revealing a ghostly figure of Emily. Panic surged through Sarah as she caught a brief glimpse, her daughter's face flickering like a dying flame, bound in tendrils of shadow. "Mom, please!" Emily pleaded, eyes shimmering with terror. "Emily!" The name ripped from Sarah's throat, raw and desperate. She would not let darkness take her child. But to move forward, she had to confront every hidden truth, had to rip away the masks she wore so comfortably. "What now, my dear?" The figure hunched closer, their breath smelling of rot, its grin filled with malice. "Would you sacrifice your past to save your future?" The shadows lightened, only to grow heavier, each memory pounding at her chest, demanding her acknowledgement. Faces, disasters, regrets all spun around, screaming for her to surrender, to give in. With every ounce of resolve she had left, Sarah took a step toward the figure, trembling hands reaching for the darkness. "I'm ready," she shouted. The cavern erupted in a cacophony of sound, the howl of the shadows rising like a storm, their fury unleashed, swirling chaotically. But as she advanced, confidence battling fear, a gust of wind pulled her back. The boundaries of the cavern rippled like water disturbed by a stone thrown into a lake. "Do you think it will be that easy?" The figure laughed cruelly, its voice echoing thunderously through the chasm. "Your truths are not just yours to bear, they will consume you." Sarah hesitated, fighting against the pull of despair and the terrible memory of a promise once made, now shattered. What had she agreed to give away? As the shadows pressed in, ready to devour both her future and her daughter's, she felt the darkness tightening around her throat, threatening to drag her back into oblivion. "Choose wisely," it whispered, "for all paths forward are drenched in blood. Can you accept such a sacrifice?" The weight of those words crushed her as time ground to a halt, leaving her teetering on the precipice of two worlds, one where she faced her past, and another where she lost everything. As darkness surged forth again, claiming its prize, Sarah's choice sliced through the chaos like a knife. Which way would she turn? Her answer lingered just out of reach, a flicker of something bigger than herself, something dark. What if confronting the truth meant losing herself completely? The darkness pulsed around Sarah, thick as smoke and suffocating. Panic ignited her pulse, a frantic rhythm that competed with the shadows whispering tales of misery and regret. Think of Emily, she instructed herself, grounding her heart in that single thought even as tendrils of doubt snaked through her mind. Sacrifice, blood. The shadows echoed ominously, their words tangled with despair. The figure planted before her ebbed and flowed, a grotesque reflection of anguish, eyes two black holes that consumed any glimmer of hope. Stop! Sarah screamed, but her voice felt small, swallowed by the vast void. The swirling darkness laughed at her defiance, an unsettling sound that chilled her to the bone. It looped through her mind, sculpting confusion into fear. Confront them! A hollering voice roared, breaking through the haze. She turned, and for a moment, the air around her shifted. A familiar face emerged from the shadows, one she hadn't seen in years. Emily's face, radiating innocence, trapped yet defiantly staring into the abyss. "Mom, don't let them take you." The plea shattered the air. A new wave of strength coursed through Sarah, a mother's instinct overpowered by fear. She had to fight for her daughter, to rescue Emily even if it meant wrestling with her own demons. "Remember your past." The figure barked, voice layering over the whispers. "Embrace it. Relinquish your weight to carry hers." With every ounce of bravery, Sarah planted her feet and steadied her breath. "No. I won't give in." The shadows recoiled, startled. She wrestled against the memories tugging her back. The nights of fury with her husband, the silence that draped over their home, the decisions that had spiraled into regret. Each one surged forth, clamoring for her attention, exposing her like raw flesh. And then she felt it. A warmth pooling inside her chest, rising against the suffocation. "I will embrace my truth," she declared, her voice steady and unwavering. "Not for you, but for Emily." The darkness hissed, recoiling. "You think you can confront us? Expose us and emerge unscathed? Watch me," Sarah shot back defiantly. Without looking away from Emily's image, she recalled the sharpest pain, the day of his disappearance, the guilt that had twisted her soul. The day the silence fell hard, leaving cracks in what remained. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, receding like a tide pulled back from the shore. Emily flickered closer, her form growing clearer, sparkles of hope edging her features. "Mom, you can do this," she urged. But the figure laughed, a low and menacing sound that rattled the walls of the cavern. "Do you dare step into the light, Sarah? Because to do so, you must face something darker than your fear." In that instant, the cavern illuminated in a tempest of sounds. 1,000 voices rose, all undulating to unveil truths long buried. Sarah fell to her knees, clutching her head as the noise infiltrated her consciousness, a dizzying rush of failures cascading over her. "Enough!" she cried, cutting through the chaos. The shadows paused, calculating. "I am not afraid to face what I have done." With renewed determination, she stood, light erupting from within, a blinding beam igniting the cavern walls, casting shadows into a desperate retreat. As her spirit ignited, she yelled, "I choose to remember. I choose to feel. No longer will I let my past define me." "Foolish!" it shrieked, but the shadows around her quivered, faltering under her grip on reality. But even as the echoes of courage seemed to push them back, the figure grinned wider. It seemed to mold into another form, bulkier, more grotesque. A heart of malevolence found refuge in the depths of their darkest scars. "You've revealed one truth. What lies beneath is far deadlier." Just as those words slithered into her mind, a distinct rustle filled the air behind her, barely audible, a whisper against the wind, growing louder, more urgent. "Mom! Help! Emily's plea fractured the moment, but it was different this time, strangled, urgent. The very essence of Sarah's fears became tangible. From the shadows emerged another presence, an outline, shifting and writhing, creeping toward her daughter. "Emily, no!" Sarah shouted, eyes widened in horror, realizing that the shadows were converging on her daughter, less than inches away. The figure laughed richly, resonating through the cavernous, warped walls. "What will you do now, Sarah? Save her or confront your true self?" As the shadows fell around Emily like a tightening noose, the decision loomed above her, a moment hanging precariously between redemption and despair. Could she save Emily, or would she pay a price too horrific to imagine? The heartbeat of the cavern thrummed louder, the choice was lingering, dangerously close. What sacrifice would she make? The shadows surged, threatening to envelop Emily completely. Fear surged through Sarah, hot and relentless. She had to act. Every instinct screamed for her to save her daughter, but the darkness tangled around her, whispering that the cost would be high. "Emily!" Sarah's voice erupted, raw with desperation. Those haunting eyes, wide and pleading, held her gaze. "Help me, Mom." With each pulse of her heart, Sarah felt her own past pierce deeper. The failures. The silence. The agreements she made that bound her to her misery. Let her go. She bellowed, the echoes ricocheting off the cavern walls. "You want me? You can have me, but not my daughter." The figure, now grotesquely enormous, creaked closer, delight morphing its features. What a tempting offer. "Bind yourself to us, reveal your darkest truths, and perhaps she shall be saved." "No!" Sarah screamed. "I want to play your games." A jolt of defiance surged through her limbs. She surged forward, ready to confront the shadows, heavy fog of fear swirling around her. She indeed had truths to unveil, ones that would set Emily free, ones the darkness craved to consume. Breath tearing from her lungs, she unfurled the secret tucked away in the chasm of her heart. "I was afraid. Afraid of the choices I made. Of how I lost myself." The shadows recoiled, vitriol spilling into the air. "Loss? What pain have you ever known?" Her memories surged now, raw and relentless, her childhood, the loneliness of growing up without a father's warmth. "You think you can scare me? I lost him a long time ago." The figure trembled, caught off guard. Adjusting its form, it sought her spirit. "You dare to confront pain?" "Yes," she yelled, fists clenched. "I dare to remember every betrayal, every unspoken fear, every moment of rage that tore apart my life." The cavern quaked, trembling beneath her truth. The shadows flickered, caught between retreat and attack. Emily's voice, fragile but fierce, echoed through the chaos, "Mom. I'm here. Find me." It rushed back to Sarah with the force of a tempest. She pushed against the darkness, fighting not just for her child, but for the very essence of her own soul. "You want truth? Here it is. I felt like I failed to protect you from the silence that suffocated us both. I regret the times I let us fall apart." The figure howled, but Sarah pressed forward. "You took my happiness, my freedom. You thought I was weak?" The shadows hissed and recoiled, a growing panic filling their essence. "She doesn't really matter. You're alone, Sarah. Alone." "No." The fury burned in her chest, overwhelming their spiteful tune. "Not anymore." Circles of shadow flickered, pulling away as if retching at her truth, the secrets buried in her heart shedding their grip. "I am not alone." Sarah surged toward Emily's voice, breaking through the darkness filling the cavern. With every heartfelt word, the shadows screamed, losing their hold on her, the winds of her resolve swirling and crashing around her. "Let her go." She screamed again. "I choose her." And amidst the chaos, she felt it, a connection, a thread woven through space and fear, as she reached deeply into her core for that bond. I believe in our love, sweet girl. I could never abandon you. A burst of vibrant white light surged forward, radiant and cleansing, driving the lurking shadows back. Emily's voice rang through the brilliance clear, unwavering. I love you, Mommy. Hold on. In that moment of surrender, Sarah felt the weight lifting, the panic dissolving in the warmth of their bond. The shadows shrieked, twisting, contorting against the encroaching light. With one final push fueled by love and clarity, Sarah drove the light forward, shattering the darkness that sought to retain hold. The figure, once colossal, diminished into nothingness at last, collapsing into tendrils that disintegrated into thin air. The cavern trembled, and Sarah dove forward, embracing Emily in a rush of brilliance. Warmth flooded over them both, binding them in a cocoon of light. The gloom evaporated, revealing the faint outlines of the festival outside, the joy and innocence returning in. Celebration, drowning out the horrors within. As they stood together in that moment, hearts sinking in rhythm, the fractured pieces of their life glimmered brightly in the now bespeckled light, promising hope, possibility, and a path forward. They had chosen each other, and from there, as the darkness receded back into myth and shadow, they took a deep breath and stepped into the light together. And with that, Sarah whispered to the universe and every truth entwined in love, we'll face it together. Their laughter rang freely through the air, a song of hope, carving an unshakable bond between mother and daughter, forever entwined in the story they would write anew. Now, in this light, the darkness faded, and with it a sense of peace. And so, as they walked back toward the festival, warmth blossomed in their hearts, remembering how the love birthed in truth could banish even the darkest of shadows, forever changing Maplewood's legend. And if you're still here feeling that rush, that pulse of urgency to dive deeper into this adventure, you need to subscribe immediately. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Really, tell me what you thought of the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us keep unraveling these incredible tales together.